And we are back.
We're back.
Oh, she did the...
I did.
That's funny. That's very true. So we are here with Matt Bell, not to be confused with the Bell brothers who do powerlifting, because when I first told our producer that who you were, he was like, no way you're interviewing that guy. And I was like, not that guy, bro. He's not a powerlifter. I'm pretty excited about this.
Me too, man. Thank you.
Real shit. Like when I read who you were and what you were about, I was like, yo, we got a lot in common. Andy's covered in tattoos. Like, we got to get this guy on the show.
Yeah, it's amazing. Brothers from another.
So who are you? What do you do? And then we can bullshit.
Yeah, man. Well, like I said, Matt Bell from Toledo, Ohio, which is weird because I think, is where we're at. I don't know if that's a good thing to say or not. We might have to bleep that too. But that, born and raised in Toledo, Ohio, and chaos, addiction, recovery, all kinds of stuff. We can go into the details, but I got sober in 2015 after a lot of really bad shit. And in that process, decided to say, what am I going to do with my life at this point? And I really did not know. I all my cards read zero. Convicted felon in 3 states. I had I think 400 credit score. I couldn't bank with anybody. Like I had put myself in a very difficult position, and so I had a crazy thought to say, let me just use these like liabilities that I've stacked up for myself into a position where I can possibly turn them into assets and turn something negative into positive. And so my journey through addiction and all those terrible things that happen and going through bad treatment centers and things like that, some of them in Florida, I learned a lot about what not to do. And I've always had like an entrepreneurial mind, I studied international business in college, and just decided to like put it all together. Say this negative past, this love for, I guess, just business and helping people, this can be something. And so for the last 8 years, I've been doing that and built it into, I have 75 employees at our addiction treatment center. It's called Team Recovery. And then we do our podcast as well. I have my own platform. We do a podcast called Full Belly Podcast. We bring people on to tell their stories about addiction and recovery. And we're doing a national docuseries right now called Addiction After Dark, which is on all social media platforms. And just really interviewing individuals in very real situations on the streets to show how bad it really is out there, because I think there's a lot of sugarcoating when it comes to, all the policy that's going into making change. And yes, we're helping. And there's things progressing, but there's also things still really, really bad out there.
So how did the addiction thing come about?
I hurt my shoulder playing in college, played baseball, had a full ride at the University of Toledo. And, this was in 2006 when prescribing laws were like very different. But I walked out of the outpatient surgery with 90 Percocets and I ate them like candy. Like, yes, they prescribed a lot. I don't blame it on the doctors. I don't, that was not my situation. I'm like the kind of person that takes accountability for my shit.
You're on the right podcast then.
Okay, good. Yeah. I have that feeling. So, it just progressed, Percocets to Oxycontin to heroin. And, I was like exhibiting signs of addiction and chemical dependency prior to that. There just were no significant like consequences. Like when I started drinking in high school, I drank way more than everybody else. When I started smoking, it was like every day, all day. Like there was no like normal social drinking or right. Smoking pot or anything.
Moderation.
Like it was always just, even with food. Like I remember like looking back at food, like there wasn't like, you get a family size bag of chips, I'd eat the whole damn bag. Mm-hmm. Like we were talking about it today. Some things I still struggle with. Like I was full eating lunch today, but I had to finish the shit. Like it just tastes so damn good, and I don't know if that's because like that's the addict in me or because I've like had nothing before and now I don't want to waste things. So I don't know. It's just, I guess we'll never find out.
So did you strictly stay pills or did you move into other things?
Oh no, it was, so pills got really expensive, they got really hard to find. Mm-hmm. The doctors that were doing the pill mills all got busted, and that's when kind of cartels came in and flooded the streets, like perfect timing. And I didn't care. I just the withdrawals were so bad, like where you can't function. Mm-hmm. If you tell me it's the same thing, but I can get it now for cheaper, it's stronger, it lasts longer, and the first one's free, like, right. If it's going to make me feel better, I'll take it. And that was when heroin came in, and that lasted for about 5 years until it switched to fentanyl.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. The pill mill thing in Florida was bad. Like we were the pill state mm-hmm. for a long time in the United States. Mm-hmm. And I remember when oxys became a thing because people didn't understand the time release aspect because that was also a new thing.
Yeah.
And it was killing my friends left and right because a lot of my friends were on that shit. Florida was nasty for that. Or late 90s, early 2000s was bad here.
Yeah.
It was bad. So, so 75 employees in an addiction center. I'm almost positive that I read that you're multiple business owner though, right?
Yes.
How many businesses do you own?
17.
How do you do that? And I asked because I've owned 7 at one time and it was too much. I couldn't do it all. And I understand like employees matter, but how?
Yeah, no, I mean, I know everybody says this, like, you know, we're only as good as our team. Like that really is the truth. You know, like so some of the people that are like C-level management, middle management for our companies were the best people I experienced in my negative experiences. Like I remember when I got started on this journey of sobriety and wanting to start these businesses, I was like, who was the best nurse that I experienced in all those 28 rehabs? Like, who was the best nurse that stood out and just went way above and beyond of being a normal nurse? And then like went back and hired that nurse, you know, like, and same thing with, you know, the operations managers and the finance people. Doesn't matter what it was. Like, I just remember finding the best people that left an imprint in my mind, in my heart, and just went back and got them. So I you know, I wouldn't be able to do with it what I do without my team. Right. Like, I really do just have an amazing crew. A lot of the businesses feed off of one another too. So it's not like I'm doing like fast food over here and then like selling cars over here. Right. Like the real estate, the catering, the billing, like they all sort of integrate with one another, but technically it is structured in a way that it's 17 different businesses.
Yeah, that's awesome. I kind of figured that's how that was going to go.
Yeah.
It makes sense because if you're going to be paying somebody to do that job, you might as well own the business that does the job and pay yourself through an S corp or an LLC.
You know, that's what it is for me. It's more so for control. You know, especially like right now, it's so hard to find good people to do things. It's so hard to find good people that want to work. And so, you know, when it's like we're talking about 24/7 healthcare. And so if I say, listen, our you know, we got a plumbing issue in one of our sober living apartments. Like, if you guys don't fix this, we're going to have to like move these folks out into another treatment center. And they're like, okay, we'll be there in 3 days. It's like, we can't do that. I need my own freaking maintenance crew, you know? So like vertically integrating and bringing everything in house is not even about like the money so much. Like it's 6 of one, half dozen of another. We spend the money regardless of who we're spending it with. Yeah. It's really about the element of control for me.
So with you being the owner of 17 businesses, are you like just an oversight and you have basically put CEOs in place, or that's how you've done it? Yeah.
You know, I've filled every position that I needed to. I was talking with Josh about this yesterday. Like when we started the treatment center, I was HR, I was finance, I was running group therapy, I was doing some case management because I have some licenses to do those sort of things. Like I was doing everything. And at some point, like that's not sustainable. You have to grow and put people in place and delegate. And so, I don't give a shit about titles. Like I like breed that in fact, if you come into our office, like in 3 months, everything's changing because we're changing buildings, but all of our internal signage, you could just make up whatever your title is. I don't care. Like, like outward facing, like in your email signatures and shit, like it's going to be real titles like CFO, but like, when we step into our building, the CFO's title is going to be like, if you want to be the head honcho of Moolah, like that's fine. Yeah, we can call you because titles don't mean anything. We're here, we show up, we do our job, and at the end of the day, we're doing it to help people. So, you know, I just hired somebody that I'm grooming to step in and truly be a CEO because she's better at healthcare executive C-level stuff than I am, and I'm okay because I'm good at what I do. I'm really good at what I do, and I tend to like stay in that bubble. I believe in that, and then find experts and let them do their thing.
I tell people all the time that when it comes to what I do with my businesses, if I don't know how to do something or I think I'm not going to do it like the best, I will always outsource. I'm going to pay 100%. Somebody like you've got Josh over there to do what he's doing. I will outsource everything. Steve is my tech guy. If I need something researched, I'm calling Steve. I own a couple of tattoo shops, and I've owned other businesses, and it's you being able to put somebody in position to do the job the best way that it can be done is way more valuable than you doing it and having to redo the job. And you want to work on your business and not in your business. and that's a cliche thing to say, but that's how you grow. That's how you get to the point of having 17 businesses. When something's not working, you go, this isn't right. I can fix this problem that I'm having instead of having to deal with the shit. So that's smart. This is exciting for me because of the amount of people that have been like, I've been called privileged, and I understand that's because I'm Caucasian, but I never took it that way. I took it that way because people think that I came from money, and I didn't. I came from nothing. I am also a felon. I have had life on the streets. I've been homeless. You and I have a very similar life. You just went a little harder on the business side than I did, because I have a hard time letting go of the control. That's my addiction. I want to run every facet of everything and micromanage people. And I'm learning now that I've got to back up and just let people do their thing. And if they can't do it, find somebody who can.
That's tough to do, though.
It's hard because finding people is really fucking hard to do.
And trusting people, right? Like not just finding them, but then trusting. And I think one of the things that I've had the privilege of having some really really good mentors. And I always try to surround myself with people that are just better than me. Like I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. I like to hang around people that have more, do more, know more, have done more, all that shit. And I've learned some really good things. And one of the biggest things is like it doesn't always have to get done Matt's way. It just has to get done.
Right.
And like that takes practice. You know, like because you can tell me that and I'll be like, yeah, that makes sense. Let me go try that today. I try it and and it doesn't work out exactly how I want to, again, because I'm still trying to control shit. So I don't know. It does take some time.
It took 11 months for me to give up editing to allow somebody else to edit one of our videos. And I've been paying somebody for 11 months to edit our videos, and I've been doing it all myself because their process was different than mine. The outcome was the same, but they didn't do it the way I wanted it done. And that's just the same thing. It doesn't matter if it's my way, as long as it gets done, it gets done. But then I have to go back and double check everything because you can't expect what you don't inspect. So I have to make sure that my shit's the way that I want my things to be. And that becomes problematic too, because now I've relinquished that 8 hours a day or 6 hours a day, and I've filled that time with something else. So if I have to go back and watch 3 hours of it, that 3 hours that I've dedicated to watching the edits is coming from something else. And now I'm up until 3 o'clock in the morning.
Man, that thought process right there, thinking about that, because that's a very real thing that can happen, right? Like you farm that out to somebody else. Now you move into other things. What happens if what you farmed out, that person gets sick? If that business shuts down? Now you have to go back to doing it, and these other things get neglected. That fear or that worry of what could happen stops so many people from growing. It just stops so many people from taking that chance. And for me, it's like, dude, I've done so much fucked up shit. I used to stick needles in. I used to use puddle water to shoot up heroin.
Wow.
Like the amount of like homes I walked into. I robbed a police officer's house. I didn't know it was a police officer's house, but I walked into a fucking detective's house. Like I just used to do the craziest shit. And here I am saying I'm afraid to like take a shot at something good and just have faith in something I know that can work. And if it doesn't work, like it's not going to be like I'm not going to die and my kids aren't going to starve, you know?
Do you think it's because you were so comfortable in the chaos?
100%. 100%. I think there's a huge element of just like me being able to yes. I don't know how else to say that. Yeah, it's just like being comfortable in chaos and like that became my new normal.
Right.
You
And
know,
the thought of something good happening, that's where the fear is in.
Yeah, it wasn't chaos anymore. It just became normalcy. It was my new normal. And so yeah, I think that definitely there's an element of that for sure.
Do you I've had nothing. I've literally been homeless. I lived 3 years on the streets. When you have nothing and you have nothing to lose, that fear of anything is gone because you have nothing. So when you got a little bit of something and you started building your business, how hard was that shift for you? Like, do you have that fear of losing and having to start over again? Because you've already done it once.
Yeah. No, I'm like very conservative when it comes to like business and things like that. And so like just having safeguards in place and like I'm not big on like spending stuff crazy. Like I have things set aside to where if shit did hit the fan today or if whatever happens, like I'm going to be okay. I make sure of that, like, I guess just thinking about things differently, like in active addiction, I was thinking moment by moment. All I needed was $20 more to get off being dope sick today. Now I'm thinking 10 years in advance. You know what I mean? I'm not thinking moment by moment. I'm thinking about if I do this and it goes wrong, is everything still going to be okay? And truthfully, it's like I'm thinking about not just I need to get Matt off of dope sick today. I'm thinking I have a fucking family to feed. And so this decision better be really, really good. You know, so like everything, I'm so calculated with stuff. I'm very, very strategic, very slow. I don't rush into shit. And so if I'm going to do something, I think about it, I process it. I use my, like, I'll come up with an idea today and I might not do anything with it for like 6 months. I just sit on stuff and process it and see how it feels, see if I even have time to manage the idea and make it grow. But yeah, I really like to be slow with stuff.
That's something that I'm also learning, because I was always one of those people that would get an idea and would go immediately, like, let's run this shit. And it's taken a lot to slow that down. But I'm very calculated. I would also not say shit to anyone until I was ready to make a move. So it could be 3 or 4 months that I've been doing research and digging into details and trying to learn shit before making that move. But how old are your kids?
So I have a 7-month-old daughter named Juliana. And then I have a 13-year-old stepdaughter named Gigi and a 12-year-old son named Jackson.
Okay. I'm going to ask you, this is going to get technical business stuff, and you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but I'm nosy.
Okay.
So your main business is, do you have one LLC that runs everything else?
So I have an S Corp. My S Corp owns my equity in all of my businesses.
Okay. Now, is that in a trust?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Do you have, what does your retirement plans look like? 401k, a Roth IRA? Do you have things like that?
For the businesses or for myself?
For yourself.
Or both. I don't really mess around with IRAs. I am the type of person, so I feel like a lot of those things, 401ks, IRAs, some of these just like, I guess plans that are offered to people, like, I feel like those are things that the government wants us to get into sometimes. And for me, like, I know with the way that I am, I can find a better yield getting into real estate, or like the return that I have on my real estate with the treatment center attached to it is so much better than what I could find putting in an author. I realize there's like tax benefits and all these types of things. And so I'm not opposed to them. I do have some money. I max out my 401k every year. But when it comes to like all these different like set plans and life insurance and all these different types of like different strategies to park money in different places, I don't really mess around with that. Not to say that I won't, or not to say that it wouldn't be beneficial for me. Just I haven't like exercised the energy to research those things too much.
Yeah, I have. I do the Roth IRA thing because that money's not going to get taxed when I pull it, and that's a big thing for me because taxation is theft. I hate it.
Don't get me
that
started.
face is somebody that pays taxes like I do.
Don't get me started.
The reason I asked about the Roth IRA thing though is because I'm in the process of setting up Roths for our kids because they're 4 and 5. So if I set up and I do 2 years at the max of $6,400 a year for both of them for 2 years, I'll never have to put money in that again. And by the time that they hit retirement age, that money should have made them a millionaire.
It's amazing.
And it's going to be a $13,000 investment for each kid. It's a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer. And to think about stuff like that, like I constantly hear people say, like, I don't have the ability to do it. I can't do it. It's too hard. Like, you just don't know, man.
Yeah, that's it. You don't have
like
the
what you just said. Like, I guarantee you, like, where is school? Like, where is that being taught in school?
Yeah, I have no idea. I didn't learn any of that shit. I'm 7th grade educated. I got nothing.
I went to a all guys college prep private high school, like one of the best in Ohio, and they didn't teach us that shit. Why aren't they teaching that shit?
Yeah.
Like I know the answer. I feel like I know the answer.
I know the answer
Why
too.
aren't they teaching people?
They don't want people to have the financial freedom, because when you are financially free to do the things that you want, you don't have to obey a lot of the nonsense that's going around. It's pay to play. If you've got the money to do shit, you live a very different life than people who don't have it. And if they don't have the knowledge to do it, they can't live that life.
No.
Can you tell us about your basement barbershop?
That's so funny. You did your research.
I did.
I love getting my hair cut, man. What it is, I remember. Well, I know exactly what it is. When I got clean, like, you don't take care of yourself when you're in active addiction. Let me rephrase that. I did not take care of myself in active addiction. I mean, I remember going months without brushing my teeth, like months without, like, none of that shit matters. Eating, sleeping in a place of shelter, like the normal, like, hierarchical needs that we look forward to, like, take care of ourselves and survive, that nothing matters except more drugs. And so getting clean and starting to, like, feel good about yourself again. I just remember when I walked into, like, the rooms of treatment, I looked like a terrorist, man. I was like, it was fucking bad. Like, oh my gosh, it was just really, really bad. Probably like 75 pounds lighter than what I am right now. And just hair everywhere, long, shaggy, filthy clothes. And just went and got a haircut. And I just remember how good I felt. Like, I got to see a picture of, like, the old Matt, because like life was good up until active addiction started in college, and it just felt really good to see like old cleaned up Matt. And it was at the time when like people were getting those straight razor, like super straight razor, like bald fades with the hard parts, like when like everybody was doing that. And I'm sad to say that I like had that at that time too, but it was so sharp and cleaned up that like it just felt so good. You know, I don't know what it was. It was like almost therapeutic. And so that barber was super cool, kind of like whatever. I'm in the chair for 45 minutes, told him my story, and no judgment. Like the guy was super cool, Chaldean guy, and just was just so nice, man, just like the nicest guy ever. And he ended up offering, like, if there's any other people in your situation that need haircuts, like bring them up to our shop. I'd be happy to help. And so just kind of like developed a friendship relationship with this guy and started getting my haircut every week. I was like, I need that again. I need that. So like literally every week I get my haircut. And it was when I ended up moving into the home with my family where I'm at now, it's like a 30-minute drive, 45-minute haircut, and then 30-minute drive home. So it's like a chunk out of my schedule, and I'm busy right now. So when I think about like getting a haircut on the weekends, like weekends are family time. Like I make sure that I don't really do too much on the weekends.
Yeah, you should put your phone on Do Not Disturb.
I don't put it on Do Not Disturb, but I make sure that just because there's so many bad things that can happen with the healthcare companies. You know, like there's urgent issues sometimes. But I use my schedule, which is like a whole nother topic. I use my schedule in a way that like I block out time where like it literally says like family time. You know, like there's nothing that happens. I don't schedule anything. And I set it as recurring so that like every Saturday from 10 to 7 is family time. Nothing gets scheduled unless it's something with the family. So anyways, just the haircut, it was a lot of time out of my weekend with the family. And so I made a proposition to him. I said, listen, man, if I get all the stuff and build it in my basement, will you come if I build the shop and put all the equipment, the chair, everything in my basement? Will you come to my house on Saturdays? I'll pay you more. I'll pay you more than what you make in the shop. If you don't want to, that's fine. But it's like, it's well worth it to me. And like I said, we had developed that relationship for, I think it was like 6 years at the time. He said yes. And so, you know, I think it costs like $2,500 to put it together. And I pay him twice as much as I would by going to him. But that hour and a half, 2 hours that I get to like stay home, and there's, with the way we set it up, there's chairs around. So like my kids come down and they love him. They think he's the funniest guy in the world. My wife comes down, the baby's there. So I get to sit with them, talk, enjoy time with my family. Cause that's like the only thing we're never going to get back is time. And I think about it like when I'm on my deathbed, I will have wished just one of those haircuts. I would have like just stayed at home. Yeah. You know, it's just,
I get that.
Time is everything, man. Like I wasted so much time, and all I want now is just time with my family.
That's a sign that you are financially stable, because I have that mindset of I can always make more money. I say it on the podcast all the time. You can always make more money. You can't get your time back. That is a finite resource, and once it's gone, it's fucking gone. So I'm the same way. Although I just started using a calendar and having that set up, and we have like a family thing set up, and I've got my producer and Steve, my assistant, everybody's on that calendar, everybody that matters. And when I'm done, my phone goes on Do Not Disturb, and there's 3 people that can get through to me. Steve is one of them, my manager at the shop, and her. Oh, my mom. So there's 4. But in the event that something like is crucial, they know to call them first, and if they can't figure it out, then they contact me. So I have that Do Not Disturb plan set up.
Nice.
That calendar set up, having that scheduled time like that was a game changer for me. That's allowed me to live in a routine a little more effectively, because this is chaos. It's constant chaos, and we never know what the dance studio next door is going to be doing with sound, and like people are flying in and out, and
things popping up with the kids.
Yeah, kids are a big one too. We have to sometimes shuttle people to and from the airports, and like there's just a lot, because we're trying to really grow this and make this. I want to be the next Joe Rogan, but
you guys are doing a great job, man.
A lot
I'm like
more
super
tattoos.
excited to even Joe with more tattoos.
less jujitsu.
Yeah,
it's a whole lot of work that I don't want to do.
Oh my gosh, that's too good. What are you guys drinking?
Energy drinks, because I am a caffeine junkie.
Same.
I know. I did my research. Would you like an energy drink?
No. We had a Cuban coffee on the way over here. Like every time I come to Florida, I'll get Cuban coffee. Yeah. I remember the first time I came to Florida, actually. So I had, whatever. I did this like rally in Ohio and spoke at this thing, and I got invited to Florida to come meet these guys that were like treatment guys. And they told me to stop at this like Cuban cafe and grab this coffee. And I went in there, ordered the shit, and it came in like a styrofoam cup, like a normal coffee cup, but they gave you these little tiny like plastic shooters to go with it.
Mm.
And I had no clue what that was. I was like, what is this? Like, this is a cup of coffee. I'm going to drink the cup of coffee. And I had no clue that you were like supposed to pour one, drink it, and like that, those little cups were for everybody. Like that cup could have served like 15 people. And I drank that. I had like 90 days clean at the time. I'm a recovering heroin and cocaine addict. Yeah. Like I drank 40 shots of espresso or whatever the hell it was, and I swear to God, I felt like I had like smoked crack. It was wild. I was up for a day. Funny. I did not sleep that night.
That sounds really intense.
It was very intense. I was like sweating. I was like going to meet these guys, and I'm sitting down and just like I don't know. They probably thought I was still using. I don't know. It was probably not a very good first impression, but it was intense. It was super intense.
So you're going to Miami next?
We're going to Miami. What is today? Saturday. Tomorrow we're going to Miami. Tomorrow morning.
You guys doing another pod over there?
No, we're gonna film. We're gonna do the Addiction After Dark.
Oh, okay. You guys gonna hit the streets, huh?
We're gonna hit the streets, man.
Is it bad in Miami like any other places?
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, it's rough and all over. Really, there's pockets of Miami, but there's a specific area called Overtown that we're gonna go to. If you watch the first 48 about like murders, you know what I'm talking about. There's a lot of Overtown murders, and most of them revolve around drugs or the sales of drugs. And
I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yeah, Overtown's a rough area, but it's just there's a lot of really cool things that like I get to do now that I've gotten sober and like been creative with how we're structuring things. But Addiction After Dark is awesome. It's like it's my favorite thing to do.
So are you guys pulling people off the street and trying to get them clean, or are you just interviewing them?
We both. And so like one of the questions that we ask at the end of the interview is, if you could wave a magic wand and have anything that you want, what would that look like? And it's an intentional question because we want them to put it out there, like fresh in your mind. I want a house. I want my kids back. I want to be sober, and I want to get a job, right? Like we want them to say that. And then we follow it up with, well, we have a lot of resources from doing this and traveling and putting this out there. There's a lot of treatment centers that reach out to us. Any sort of resource, homeless shelters, domestic violence shelter, all these different types of resources. Tell us all the time. We can help. If you find somebody that needs help, just call us. Or I have my own treatment center. I tell people, if you want help today, that what you just said, you want your kids back, you want a life, you want a job, you want a car, I can get you on a plane right now and give you an opportunity where you have free treatment. You do not need to think about anything else. Just come, spend time, take as long as you need, and get yourself better so that you can have that dream come true. And so far, nobody has accepted the offer.
Really?
Not one person.
No way.
Do you think it's the travel?
I think the travel is a component, but like, dude, think about that. If I told you, if you had cancer and I was like, dude, I got the cure for cancer, all you got to do is get in a plane. Like, fuck the travel. Travel means nothing. Well,
to a junkie, it does though, right? So, and I know that word triggers people, but
it doesn't trigger me.
I don't give a shit.
I mean, I don't either.
Okay,
I think I'm tired of that like multi-syllabic euphemisms of let's not offend people, like whatever.
But for somebody who has connections, knows where to go to get what they need, if you were to leave Miami and go to Toledo to an addiction center, wherever your addiction centers are, they're not going to know anyone.
Right.
They're going to have to find all those connections all over again in the event that they decide to use.
Right.
It creates an obstacle for them to get high.
Right.
Do you think that might be a fear factor in them doing it? Because now
it's fear.
You've been dope sick. You know what that fear is like.
It's terrible. That's the word. It's fear.
Yeah.
That's all it is. They're not ready to be done is what it comes down to. Like the change occurs when the pain of remaining the same becomes greater than the pain of change. So like, regardless of how bad that fear is, if you told me I had to get on 10 connecting flights and 3 trains and 2 buses, if I want to get sober and you're telling me that the opportunity is at the end of all that travel, I'm doing all of it. I'm doing all of it. It's paid for. You have nothing to worry about. If you're not ready, then it doesn't matter if it's let me walk into the next room. Like, it could be on the other side of that wall right there. If you're not ready, they're not doing it. And that's just the way that addiction is. It's one of those things where like, when people aren't ready, there's nothing that we can do right. And when they are ready, there's nothing that we can do wrong. because nothing's going to stop them from getting it.
We get asked a lot about addiction, and I was always on the other end of addiction because I was a dope boy. So like I didn't get high like that. Lost a lot of friends to this shit though. And so when people write in and have addiction questions, I don't know where to point them. I don't want to pretend I know that life. I've seen it, but I've not lived it. So I try to skirt those questions quite a bit.
So my treatment center it's in Ohio, and it takes Medicaid only. So like if someone were to call in Florida right now that has private commercial insurance, I wouldn't be able to help them. However, in doing this for 8 years, we have become we place people in other treatment centers more than we accept in our own. And that's something that like nobody else does. Can you imagine walking into like Home Depot and you're like, I need this very specific tool, like, and they don't have it. They're gonna be like, we don't have it, but I'm gonna tell you exactly where you can go to get it. Like, they're not gonna do that. They're gonna say, sorry, we don't have it. And that's what most treatment centers do. They say, sorry, we don't accept your insurance. You know, good luck. They hang up the phone. But my admissions team will spend an hour on the phone with you just listening if that's what you need.
I have a lot of other questions about medical billing and how you guys make your centers work and all that shit, but I don't want to bog down the podcast with business shit because that's more of a me thing than anybody listening to us, and I know that. I'm a real big believer in if you want something, you'll make it happen. It doesn't matter what it is, and we're both prime examples of that because of our past. So before we get into anything else, do you have anything that you want to say that people who are where you were moving, like, you have any kind of advice or any thoughts for people who are trying to start a business or level up in any way?
You know, I think the cost of the energy, I saw this is not my quote, like the cost of the hard work and the sacrifice and all that stuff, it's very, very high. But like when you get that invoice for regret, that shit is something that you'll never be able to pay off, you know? And so like, I think about all that stuff too. Like people ask, what's your greatest fear? My greatest fear is, again, being on my deathbed and being like, fuck, man, I wish I would have done that. I know I could have. Or like, even if I couldn't have done it, I wish I would have just figured out if I could have. You know, like that thought of, man, I know I'm good at this. I know I can make an impact. You know, like I know I could have done this for my family or whatever it is. I wish I would have changed. I wish I would have gotten healthier. I wish I would have spent more time with my kids. Like, man, just fucking do it. You know, like since I've had that mentality, my life has gotten better every single day for 8 years straight. And there's part of me that's like, at what point is it not going to get better? You know? And I'm not saying like every day's been perfect. Like I've had terrible fucking days. People die, like life on life's terms, right? Like that shit's going to happen. But with the right attitude, like somebody told me very early on, you change your attitude, you'll change your life.
Yeah, I read in a book that said that when you're on your deathbed, the things that flash before your eyes are the things that you paid attention to. So that is what your life will consist of, is what you paid attention to in life. So if your focus is on all the bad shit that's happened and all the negative in your relationship or the shit with your kids, that's what you're going to focus on. But if you're focusing on the positive moments when you die, you're going to have a beautiful life flash. I thought that was really cool.
That is. I love that.
Are you a big reader?
I don't have time to read. I just don't have the time to read. So, no.
Do you audiobook?
If I do read anything, it is audio, yes.
When I watched your barber story and heard that you were giving up almost 2 hours a week of drive time, I was like, what the fuck is he doing? Because I listen to audiobooks when I drive alone. It's the only time I have to ingest books or in the gym. And when I have a training partner, I can't listen to that because they want to listen to music. I have to either put my headphones in or listen to music. Yeah. So my audiobook time has shifted, but over the last year, I've ingested just under 300 books. I'm like 296.
In the last year?
296, 297 books, yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
All through audio?
Yeah, all audiobooks.
So that is, have you talked about that on your podcast?
Not really.
Like, I feel like that is something that, like, because a lot of people will be like, I don't read. I don't like to read. I can't read, right? Like, there's so many good books out there that if you read 300 books in a year, right? Like think about all the shit that you could have been listening to in that time, right? Whether it's just music that you've heard over and over again, or just talking or thinking in your own mind or whatever it is, the amount of information that you've, like good information, there's so many good positive books out there that you've said, you know, I'm going to make a simple decision to make an easy fix in my life. Stop listening to music, turn on an audiobook. Anybody can do that. Yeah.
You know, a lot of that shit becomes background noise anyways, but subconsciously you take it in. It's when people listen to depressed music, their depression goes up. Like the frequency of their depression will go up. She watches murder mystery and psycho analysis type stuff. And she'll be like, I heard this the other day. I'm like, how did you hear that while you were cooking and dealing with the kids? And she's like, I had my AirPods in. I'm like, I wouldn't have heard shit other than the kids screaming over the AirPods, you know? But she retains a lot of that stuff. And so I started playing my AirPods and playing my audiobooks even when I was doing other things. And I've got Steve doing the audiobook thing now. We send books back and forth all the time. And it's that's, you do retain things subconsciously. It's like people who are trying to learn another language, listening to another language in their sleep.
Right.
Your subconscious
You're
takes
listening.
it.
Yeah. Some of it will stick for sure. I thought you were going to say that she listens to murder mysteries and now she wants to kill people.
I would never put that out there. Just in case. You know, you never know when you're going to need a good alibi.
Right.
I'm glad you're prepared.
I love your guys' relationship, by the way.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Seriously, I love it. I love it.
It's
rare, man. Like in our world today, too. Just like true respect for one another and like the ability to communicate that and say it out loud and to like show the affection for it, show the affection for her. You know, like people just aren't doing that nowadays, dude. Like the dynamics of relationships have changed so fucking much.
It's because people are taught to hate the opposite sex, and then they try to have a relationship with it while they're hating it.
The opposite anything.
Yeah.
I feel like nowadays, just hate what's not you. It's wild. You guys have a great relationship.
We went riding. We bought some electric dirt bikes. Have you ever seen the Surons?
Yes.
It's hilarious.
Yes.
So I bought 2 Suron Light BXs and 2 Tolarius Sting R MX4s. And we went and rode around one of the preserves this morning. And we were flying down this road underneath of the Florida Power and Light Trail. It's just a dirt road. And we had to have been doing 40 miles an hour on those bikes because they're opened them. I cut them. They're fast. And I lock the bike up and I slide a little bit and I jump off the bike and I found this conch shell. I don't know how I saw this thing, dude. I was going so damn fast. I just saw it on the ground and I instantly hit my brakes. And I jumped off and I grabbed it and walked it over to her. She's like, "What'd you find?" And she's like, "How did you see that?" I don't know. I was paying attention.
Yeah.
But I got it to her and she's like, "Oh my God, I love you. I love the way you love me." And it's those things and those moments that make those memories, because we could take that trip 15 times and never have a moment like that.
Yeah.
And I could have kept riding.
Yeah.
I could have been like, "Oh, shell."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's, I think, what keeps our relationship.
Don't look at me. Stop.
There it goes.
It's not a podcast till Peaches cries.
Yeah. Would you
And
say
it's
your
a shell
sternum's
that
going to start itching? I think you said that the once. You're like, my sternum, I need to
Yeah.
self-soothe.
Self-soothe my sternum's itchy.
It's funny.
It's shells that I've been collecting, though. It
Yeah.
wasn't just some random shell. This is
Right.
now the 6th shell in my collection. That's, and you stopped so quick just to make me happy.
For a damn shell.
I hit
you
that
know?
brake
That
and-
means a lot, though.
She slid like 3 feet past me and she's like, "I'm getting really good at stopping." She's never, it's weird because you don't think about how different boys and girls are raised. Like when I was a kid, I don't know, how old are you?
36.
Okay, so you grew up in the 80s somewhat. We rode our bikes everywhere. Mountain bikes and BMX, and like we would ride up and down stairs, and I rode my bike all over Pinellas County. I went places that my parents would have killed me if they found out I went to. And first time we get on dirt bikes, I'm not thinking to give her instructions like every kid rode dirt bikes. No, they didn't. Or they didn't mountain bike, and she hit sugar sand and ate shit. And I was like, you gotta let the bike do its thing when you hit that. And she's like, "I wish you'd have told me that before I fell."
You just got to learn it.
Yeah.
It's one of those things.
He said the moment he realized that not every child has the same childhood is when I told him I never rode a bike downstairs.
Yep. We found some areas that just had tree roots growing through the trail, and I was like, "Just stand up and ride it down like you rode downstairs." And she's like, "I never did that." And I'm like, "What do you mean you never did that?"
Right downstairs. What do you mean?
I was a very sheltered child.
Yeah.
I stayed inside and I read books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah, those electric dirt bikes are a blast, man. We were talking on the way here that we're going to make some so that 2 of them are street legal, or street performance, not legal.
Right.
And then keep 2 ready for dirt, because there's you can do both around here. They're a lot of fun.
Since we're on the dirt bike topic, I want to talk about the deer that we saw this morning.
Okay, have at it, babe.
So we were on the dirt bikes and we're going down the trail, and he stopped ahead of me, and I have no idea what's going on, and I'm coming up to him and I see a deer off in the distance. I was like, "Do you think we'll let it get close?" Like, he was like, "I don't know, try." And we're inching, and I stop, and he takes off a little bit, and he turns around and he comes back. And we're like, he's used to humans. So I get off my bike and I start approaching him. I get within like 20 feet.
That's
And-
close.
It is
Right.
close.
That's close.
Yeah. And like we make eye contact and like he does his little thing. He turns around, he prances off and he stops and he comes back. I was like, I'm about to pet a deer.
Yeah,
Like this is
yeah,
my
yeah.
Disney princess moment. And then he runs off and we get on our bikes and we keep going. And Chris points him out and he takes off. And I slow down because he comes back out of the woods towards me. I was like, oh, bye, little buddy. Like, love you. Thanks for the moment. I hope you have a long life because you deserve it.
Yeah.
And he jumps across the little road and he stops. Now he's like 10 feet away from me.
Yeah.
And I was like, are you fucking with me right now, dear? Like, what are we doing?
Were you actually talking to it?
Yes, I was. It was on a TikTok live. Everybody heard it.
That's amazing.
But I take off and then he takes off and we're like riding together for a minute.
Yeah.
And then like he takes one look at me and he veers off into the woods. Now I have a new nature best friend.
Yeah. Yeah. That was,
New nature
that was the
best
moment.
friend.
Yeah.
She walked back towards me and I'm like, did you live your best Snow White life? You got your Disney princess out of you? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, this is how white people get killed. You're not supposed to approach wild animals. You hear it
Oh
every
my
year.
gosh,
Family at
yeah.
Yellowstone gets fucking mauled by buffalo because they decided they wanted a selfie with
They
a
thought it
fucking
was so damn
2,000-pound
cute.
beef. Like, come on.
I'm not trying to take a selfie and this is a deer.
You were trying to pet it.
I was approaching it and I was like non-threatening aura.
She was walking with her hands out.
I was.
Yeah.
I had my
Yeah.
hands out. Like, I don't know. What if they think I'm being shifty because they can't see
Like
my
it
hands?
was the police. Like, let me see your hands. You're like, here it is, dear. Here's my hands.
There was
I'm
a
not reaching
second.
for any weapons. No bow and arrow on my shoulder.
There was a second where I was like, would this be better? And I was like, no, he doesn't know.
Like if you just were to go like this for a second, it would
Right.
run. You
Yeah,
know?
like a
It would have
stealth
known.
knife or
It would have
something.
known. It would have
Yeah.
known.
wild.
Their friends are gonna be talking about you later. And they'll be like, watch out for that girl with the pink helmet.
Mm-hmm.
You let her get a little close. She wasn't quite right. She's trying to touch me. That's funny.
We have a ton of deer in our neighborhood, and they are like very just like used to people. You know, like they're not wild deer at all. I mean, I guess they are. They live in the
Slightly
woods.
domesticated.
But like they'll get like if that's where you're and I'm driving the car back into the neighborhood, like they will not even move like 3 feet away. They just stare at the car.
Do you talk to those deer at all?
I don't talk to them.
No, understandable.
No, I don't talk to them.
The deer in Florida are very small compared to the deer everywhere else.
Are they?
Yep. They're like half the size.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yep.
they're pretty big in Ohio.
Our deer are a little bit bigger than a Great Dane.
Yeah, ours are like literally twice the size of that. Especially a big buck.
There's bigger deers out there.
Oh yeah. When we go to Montana and you get to see those deers out there, they're massive.
I will also get out.
No, you won't.
No.
Yeah.
I know mooses are off limit. Mooses?
Moose. Yeah, moose are definitely off limit. You see a 10 or a 15 point buck standing on the side of the road, you're not getting out of your car.
Yeah, that's different.
They aggressive?
They can be. They can be. They're big. I mean,
They're just big.
they're big. I mean, any creature when threatened can become aggressive, but when they outweigh you by a lot and have a whole lot of kick muscle going on, you don't want to test that theory.
Yeah,
Oh
they're
yeah,
strong.
I know not to get behind things. I've heard people dying from cows and whatnot.
Yeah, cows are lethal. You ever looked into those stats?
Terrifying.
I'm just randomly looking into cow death stats, bro.
Cows kill more people in the United States. They're probably in like the top 200 murderers in the United States.
Really? Cows?
Because, yeah, dude, they're so stupid and they're just so big and derpy. They don't know what they're doing. They'll just trample people.
I can
People
see it.
die more by
I can
cows
see it.
than they do shark.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can see that too. That's crazy. That's so weird to think about. But everybody loves cows and they hate sharks or are afraid of sharks.
We took her to Tennessee to see Scottish Highland cows.
Yeah.
And she's out there
He's
like
surprised.
petting them and shit. And like, you don't realize how big those things are fully grown until you're standing next to one of them and they go to like move you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you move. You can't help it.
There's nothing. You're not doing anything. Their heads are like as big as half of our bodies.
Yeah.
Their heads alone. It's wild.
I was standing there brushing one of them, and he took his head and he like pushed me up against him. I call it a cow hug.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like in all reality, that cow could have tossed me if he wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was a big guy.
It's wild.
That was a cool experience
That
though.
was really dope. Thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. How long have you been married?
We got married 2 years ago. I've been with her for 8/23/14 is when we started dating. That's when I officially asked her out. So we've been together for almost 10 years. So, and she was with me like right at the end of my addiction.
Oh, so she didn't get to see that part of you.
She did get to see it.
Okay.
She saw like the very end, which was probably the worst the worst of my almost decade of addiction.
Wow.
How did you guys meet?
So I knew her from high school. Like, I went to the all guys
okay.
school in Toledo. She went to the all girls school, and so she's 2 years younger than me. But like, we cross paths and stuff at parties. And Toledo's a relatively small town, and so like everybody knows one another. And we went our separate ways, and I ended up getting out of. I did like a very short stay and maybe 9 months in a county jail. Got out and was like not strung out on drugs again, but like I was not ready to be sober yet. And so I still wanted to go to the bars, still wanted to, smoke weed or whatever the hell it was. And so I ended up sending her a message on Facebook because I knew who she was, and she was actually, it was a picture. She went to Italy and was like laying on the beach, looked beautiful. And I was like, you look amazing. I haven't seen you since high school. You want to go grab a beer or something like that? And like, she knew all the shit that was happening with me, and she had never done any of that stuff. Everybody in Toledo knew what happened to me. She had never done, like, I think she maybe smoked a joint at a Dave Matthews concert one time.
I mean, if you're going to do it, that's the place to do it.
That's a good place to smoke a joint. It's kind of hard not to not smoke at a Dave Matthews concert. But she was like, I don't know why she accepted the date. I really don't know why, but she did. And like, her family's just a really good family. Never lived that life at all, like not even close. And started dating or whatever. And I think, just going out and having drinks here and there lasted for a few months until I was like, you know what, I'm going to do another one, and ended up getting high again. And the very first time that I used heroin again, I relapsed. She found me, overdosed.
Is that the bathroom picture?
That's the bathroom picture. Yeah. She found me overdosed in my bathroom. And the crazy part is like, she never saw any of that shit. Never knew like how to respond or anything like that. And she saved my life, dude. And this was at a point again where I'm like, I got out, I had some enemies in Toledo, and so I'm carrying a pistol around, doing all this like stupid shit, getting into fights, thinking that's cool. Like, I'm going to beat you up and take your girl. And like, that was like maybe anger, I think, coming out. I was so fucking mad at where I was in my life. So I just wanted other people to be miserable too. And so I'm overdosed in my bathroom. She's like performing chest compressions on the phone with 911, thinking about the fact that I'm a felon and I have a gun. So she's hiding it before the cops get there. Like, she's Italian, so I think the Italian just came out.
I'm going to interrupt. What a homie.
I know.
Like, she stepped in and was like, not my man.
Literally.
That's funny.
Literally.
Yeah.
She was like, I'm going to make sure he's okay. Hid the drugs, all this shit. Now, like, the cops show up and they're like, okay, this guy's bleeding from his, whatever they call this right here, in inner elbow, maybe.
Your ditch.
We call it.
Yeah, your ditch. Yeah, that's what I would call it too. But so bleeding from that area, clearly overdosing. We Narcaned him, like he showed some sort of a response. Like, we know what this is. He's got like drug charges in the past and shit. They're like, where's the drugs? She's like, all right. Now, so like, she had the foresight to hide it, but then when it came to like being interrogated, she just folded, bro. She just folded. She's like, okay, here it is. But thank God she didn't give him the gun, because that would have been a lot worse.
So you said she saved your life. You mean that literally? Because people say that shit a lot. It's a figure of speech nowadays. It's a very different thing when somebody pulls you from that darkness. Like,
yeah, you saved my life.
Yeah,
she saved my life, 100%. And then like in a lot of ways after that too. Like the way that some other people would say it, not so much physically chest compressions. Right. That's why when I said like I admire your guys' relationship, because I know what a good relationship means. I know what it feels like.
It changes the way you want to live your life, not how you live, how you want to live your life. Because you're not doing it, like you said earlier, you're not doing it for you anymore. It's about your family now. That's where I am with everything that I'm doing. Literally everything that I do is for her and the kids. Like I've had nothing.
Yeah.
Started over 3 times in life. I don't care to do it again. I don't want to, but if I had to, I could. And I'm comfortable living mediocre.
Yep.
Like, I have nice shit. I've made money, so like I'm comfortable now.
Yep.
But I wouldn't continue to try to build and do what I've been doing over the last 2 years if it wasn't for her and the kids. There would be no reason for it. Because
I'm with you. I'm with you. And she said that so many times. And there was times where I was like, you're just saying that. Like, she'd be like, man, I don't give a shit. Like, if we have to move out and like move into like wherever, like move into the worst place ever, just so that we can still be together. She's like, I'm not leaving you, like, and that was like towards the end of the active addiction. She's like, man, I'm not leaving you. She's like, you're going to freaking die. Like, the only way you're going to get away from me is if you die. And
Joke's on you. She's just going to bring you back again.
right. She's just got Narcan in her fucking pocket ready to save me again. But, man, she's hard-nosed woman. She just...
That's another thing, though. Like, even that, hearing that at that point is very different than hearing it when things are good.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
you got a real one because you were at the worst, and she's like, I ain't fucking going. I'm not fucking leaving. You know what I mean? Like, Wolf of Wall Street, that shit, she ain't going nowhere.
Right.
Like, that matters, dude. Like, it's fair weather is everybody. Everybody's fair weather. As soon as shit gets hard, people want to jump ship.
Peace.
Yeah, but when you've got somebody that's been there, went through that darkness, that's a lot, dude. That's a lot to take in. And to know that she was at the end of your addiction saying she wasn't going to leave you unless you died, like, yeah.
Dude, and like, I could keep going on that. Like, it was, again, not raised like that, but to the point where, you know, her family is well-to-do in the area, and like, she had to hide it from her family that she was even with me. Like, she lost friendships over the fact that she was with me. And it was like, it wasn't like they were like, leave Matt, he's an abusive guy. No, leave Matt, you're better than him.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what they were saying. They're like, he's all he's going to do is continue to drain you. He's going to bring you down. You're going to get involved with that shit. Like, or you're just going to end up really hurt because he is going to die. Like, that's what they were trying. And they were like, probably giving her good advice, you know, like, this guy is doing some shitty shit. Like, and I'm a big believer in consequences are like needed for people to change, you know?
Yes, they are.
So, I don't know, man. She wasn't having it. And it's not like I was asking her to leave. I didn't want her to leave. She was telling me, she's like, I am never going to leave you. I just want you to know that. Like, I'm never going to leave you. And I think about that, and I'm like, she could have any guy she wants. She could, I mean, just all her resources and connections and shit, like, well-educated, good family, but she's dating a actively using heroin addict. You know, like, sometimes I wonder what she saw in me, but I'm grateful that she stayed.
Before you do that, she saw this.
Yeah.
Where you are now. That's what she saw.
When I couldn't see it. I think when I couldn't see it, she saw it.
Yeah, I was just about to ask, do you think you'd be the man that you are today if it wasn't for your woman?
Not even close.
Yep.
Not even close. It's not even like, maybe like literally not even close.
Yeah.
The dynamics and of a just a relationship with somebody who I love and care about so much, who I would literally do anything for, and I know feels the same way for me. There's like real respect to the point where it's not just like, hey, I got my dreams and goals. How are you going to support me? Like, I sit down and I'm like, babe, what are your goals? What do you want? Like, where do you want to be in a year, 3 years, 5 years? Like, business, personal, like, 20 years from now, where are we going to be? Like, what do you want to be doing in 20 years? You know, and how can I help you get that? You know, like, just stupid, sometimes just what I think is like not important to me. Like, men and women are very different types of people, you know? So like, understanding what makes my wife tick, what is important to her. Like, to me, that shit sometimes is not important. I don't give a shit about, I don't know. I don't know. I can't think of an example, but it is important to her. And so inherently then it becomes important to me because it's important to her.
How often do you guys do those kind of conversations? Because things change in 5 years.
Yeah, for sure.
Anybody I know that's ever said that they've got a 5-year plan, I'm like, it's too far.
Yeah. Yeah.